What happened to the pile that was here?
Oh, I straightened up.
Oh, God, no. Why the hell did you do that?
Remember, before you left, I asked if you'd like me to straighten up a little bit?
Straighten up, yes. Reorganize my life? No, I did not authorize you to reorganize my life.
I'm sorry, I really didn't do anything.
I thought when you said straighten up, you meant take a schmata and dust. Dusting the place could use.
From New York City, this is Theater Talk. I'm Michael Riedel of the New York Post.
And I'm the show's producer, Susan Haskins.
One of my favorite actresses, one of New York's favorite actresses, is Linda Lavin. She won a Tony Award for a brilliant production of Broadway Bound originally, and she's back on Broadway in Collected Stories with another Tony nomination. I believe, Linda, it's your fifth Tony nomination.
Yeah.
A Tony Award for Broadway Bound.
Yes.
Nomination for The Last of the Red Hot Lovers.
Yes.
Tale of the Allergist's Wife.
Right.
Collected Stories, and what's the one I'm missing?
Diary of Anne Frank.
Of course,
of course.
right. So you and Hal, you're gaining on Hal Prince, I think.
Oh, I love that.
Well,
behind.
welcome to Theater Talk, and
Thank you so
congratulations on Collected Stories, a terrific performance.
Thanks very much.
Now, this play by Donald Marguiles is about an older writer who lives in isolation,
Yes.
teaches students, and one of the students comes in who's a big fan of hers. And can you sort of tell us why the woman decides that this student, out of all, is the one she's going to let into her life after all these years really living away from people?
Sure. It happens to me every night. Sarah Paulsen plays this young woman, Lisa Morrison, brilliantly. And she came with an adoration and an energy and a sweetness and a vitality and all the intelligence and humor that Sarah Paulsen has, along with a great talent, and did an audition that just blew our socks off. And Lynn Meadow and I looked at each other and thought, well, this is the first scene, isn't it? You know, this is somebody who is young and adoring and earnest, and, you know.
But now remember, in the play, the girl then does stuff to the...
But I don't mean it adoring and it's in a sycophantic way, you know.
Right. The girl in the play comes on with that adoring, the adoration for them, but then she does things, she steals the woman's life. So you better watch out as an actress,
So I
Sarah,
better watch out, yes. And people have, you know, equated this play with All About Eve, but it is not all about Eve, and there is no, I believe, no intention in this girl to usurp a position.
I hadn't seen this play before, but after about 15 minutes in, I turned to my friend and said, show her the door. Watch out.
Isn't that something?
You let Eve Harrington into the house.
Well, you have a perceptive and a distrusting mind.
That's very true.
And you know, so does Ruth.
That's right.
Ruth doesn't jump in,
No.
but she doesn't show her the door.
Yeah.
But she's still very careful, but not careful enough, I guess, when you know the outcome.
Yeah.
Still, you know, with all of us who have trust issues, and I'm the first to admit that I do, and I work very diligently on them because I want to connect with people, and I want to be in loving relationships. So I have to look at where my mistrust comes from and where those issues are triggered for me. With those of us who have those issues, we are either walled up, and in effect, we cut off the possibility of fantastic relationships or events in our lives.
Is this something that you always had, and then I would imagine as the success came, like Ruth, you became famous, certainly through television and Alice. Does that then, you wall yourself off even more because now you're really going to be surrounded by the sycophants you have to watch out for?
It's a different kind of wall, you know. There's a boundary, and then there's a wall. And I think we deny that wall as people who are as connected as I was as a young person, as a performer. That when we delude ourselves into thinking that performing is love, and we get up on the kitchen table and tap dance for the company, and we think that that's getting and giving love. What it is getting and giving, at least getting attention and being the center of attention. That doesn't have anything to do with trusting human beings to come into your heart, let alone into your apartment. You know.
Were you the little girl who was on the
I was a little girl
tap
dancing for the company and playing the piano and singing songs on the beach for all my mother's friends. You know, I was a friendly little kid. I came to New York, you know, and I was so excited to be here when I came as a young person that I was an easy target. You know, I didn't have, I had a lot of vulnerability and not very good boundaries.
I hope you had some fun, though.
I
being
had
a
a lot
showbiz
of
kid
fun, and I had a lot of fun, absolutely.
I want to ask you about those early days, because you've had an extraordinary career on Broadway. And am I remembering this correctly? Wasn't there a Walter Kerr review that pointed you out in the chorus of a show?
That was Norman Nadel.
Norman, that's the critic Norman Nadel, yes.
That's right.
And what was that story?
That was amazing. The story is I auditioned for and got into the chorus of A Family Affair, written by John Kander and James and William Goldman. This is before Fred Ebb.
Right.
And I was in the chorus, got to Philadelphia, and the show was not going well. And they brought in a young man named Hal Prince to take a look at the show. He had been a production stage manager and a producer.
That's right.
And he was mentored by George Abbott. And I'll never forget it. I was on the payphone backstage at the Walnut, or I think it was maybe it was the Schubert, I don't know, in Philadelphia. And Hal Prince, this dynamo, walked in backstage into the theater. We knew something was going on, you know, somebody was coming. And I was on the phone, and he looked at me and pointed to me and said, "You're terrific," and kept going. Went to the stage, and we were all assembled on the stage, and we were introduced to Hal Prince. He was now going to be the director of the show. He changed the set. He made a lot of changes behind closed doors I don't know anything about. But one of the changes was he gave me 5 speaking parts, one at a time. They rewrote the show, so there was a need for a woman in a shop, and a girl at a party, and the old lady in the dressing as a seamstress. And so I started getting all these parts, these little one-line parts and little bits of songs, which was great in those days because you got $5 for every part you got, another extra $5. And so Hal Prince launched me as a speaking artist on stage. That was my first Broadway show. I was happy to be in the chorus, believe me. It took me a week to get that job. It took me a week of auditions to get that job. My mother even came to one of those auditions and sat in the house. And
did you have a Mama Rose type mother there?
I think so, that week. And we opened on Broadway, and my mother and I, my mother came for the opening, went to someplace for a coffee and a muffin, and Schrafft's. Yeah. And opened the paper. Those were in the days that I read reviews.
Yeah.
It's very hard for me now to read them because I don't want to become self-conscious about them. I have to admit, I read yours and I read the Times, and then I thought, stop, you know, because.
But Norman Nadel said.
Norman Nadel said, "There's a girl in the chorus," something. I mean, it was just remarkable. I thought my mother was making it up when she read it to me. Stop it. You know?
You never looked back.
No, I never looked back. It was such a force of a positive thrust of validation for me. I mean, it was beyond anything I could have imagined.
Can you tell us just 1 or 2 things that you learned from Hal Prince that really shaped your life and your career? Because he's a legend in the business.
He's a force of nature. To work with Hal Prince, to be in a room with Hal Prince, with the devotion and the commitment and the passion that he has for this work, and for performers, the joy that he has, what he gives you with that energy. You want to come to work every day with him. You want to be in that room with him. When you do a technical rehearsal with Hal Prince, and you listen to him and watch him work with all the people he's gathered around him, who are the cream of the crop, the best of the best, and to watch him take a visual vision, an emotional, a theatrical vision to its limit, to be in the presence of that energy and that devotion and that commitment, that theatrical knowledge, the love that he brings, is such a gift, and it gives me the desire to continue to do what I've always wanted to do.
And he clearly had an eye for talent. And he gave you my favorite Charlie Strauss song, Possibilities, in Superman, which I always loved. Yeah. And he knew that was a perfect song for you.
He made me audition 3 times for that.
Really?
Do I have time?
Yeah, sure.
When I knew he was going to do Superman, I went into one of those photo booths that we used to have, you know, $5 for a buck.
For the passport.
That's right, that's right. And I bought a hat for myself, a green hat in the millinery area. And I put a little orange, it would be very attractive right now because orange is so popular. I put a little orange band around it, put it on my head, found a Superman comic book, went into a booth and took pictures of myself as Lois Lane. And slapped these little, you know, these little rectangular pictures onto the comic book and sent it to his office. By the way, Hal is somebody who, when I was out of work, I could go to his office and say, have you got anything? And he put me in a show. The show closed that week, but he said, you can go into this show. I won't name what it was,
Yeah.
but he was that kind of person. He
Right.
would give you work if he had it. And so anyway, I put all these pictures on the comic book, and I send it to him, and he calls me up and he says, that's a brilliant audition, but you can't be Lois Lane. And I said, why? And he said, you're just not Kansas enough. But he said, I have another part. And he said, come and audition for it. So I did. And I sang It's Almost Like Being in Love, which was my audition song.
Oh, yeah.
And then they said, learn this song and come back. And they gave me Possibilities,
Yeah.
which is a really difficult song to learn.
Really?
I see possibilities, maybe more than meets the eye.
But you have that. I love that that line. I'm not gonna. How does it go? Relax. How's it go?
Relax, sweetheart. I'm not going to bite you yet.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. All right, well, Linda Lavin, it's great to have you back on
it's
Broadway
great to be
in
here
Collected
with you,
Stories.
Michael. Thank
Congratulations
you,
on the
Susan.
5th Tony nomination. There's nothing you can't play, I guess, except for Lois Lane.
Thank you, except for Lois Lane. How do you like that?
A wonderful actress, Linda Lavin, terrific in Collected Stories at the Samuel J. Friedman Theater,
Theater, West 47th Street,
produced by the Manhattan Theater Club.
just through June 13th.
And congratulations again on the Tony nomination.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ruth, are you jealous?
Oh, please don't condescend.
I'm not. I'm sorry. I
It's not
didn't.
about envy. Well, maybe it is about envy, but it's not about professional jealousy. You know what it is. I'm jealous that you have all of life ahead of you. I can't just sit back and watch you do the dance I danced so long ago and not think about time. That's what it is. Don't you see? Time.